We can make positive changes that will impact our own development and those around us. But we must first believe that we can and then do the work. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Jamaica Magazine as we share information you can use to make positive changes. Coming up, crime-fighting strategies for 2015, smart ways of managing our water resources, and rainwater harvesting to overcome periods of drought. Sit back and relax with these and more as we turn the pages of Jamaica Magazine.
No one is above the law. We encourage all Jamaicans to join the fight against corruption, organized criminality, these nefarious activities that stymies our country's progress. I want to encourage all Jamaicans to call. We have a secure line, 1-800-CORRUPT. Call anytime and we will treat the information received with the highest standard of confidentiality. We need your help. We want to elicit your support.
Call 1-800-CORRUPT. That's 1-800-267-7878. Be the change. Report corruption today.
Householders, business people, school administrators, protect yourself and your children from the Chikungunya virus. Be on the alert. Help control the mosquito population. Chikungunya is a virus transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which breeds in and around your home, workplace, and school. Destroy breeding sites. Empty old tires and all other containers where water can settle. Bore holes in old cans. Cover water drums and garbage cans. Wash flower pots and vases and clean pet dishes regularly. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. Cover your body as much as possible and use mosquito repellent containing DEET. And if you're experiencing symptoms of chikungunya, a sudden high fever, headache, rash, nausea, pain, stiffness, or severe joint pains, see your doctor or go to the nearest health center.
We all know that fighting crime in Jamaica is a job for all Jamaicans. State and citizens must partner to fix the problem. Check out our next feature to see some of the strategies that will be pursued by the security forces this year. And as you watch, think on how you can be a part of the solution.
Fresh on the heels of a 16% reduction in serious and violent crimes in 2014, police responded to more than 20 murders in January. A defiant police commissioner vows to up the ante.
It is our sworn duty to protect the life of every Jamaican.
First order of business?
We will increase our efforts at community policing. It is high time that the citizenry of this country work hand in hand with the police and become fully involved in the efforts to make Jamaica safer.
That ultimate goal involves the deployment of more police officers to the streets, and with the help of the military, criminal gangs and their facilitators will be targeted, especially those involved in the guns for drugs trade. A dedicated task force has been investigating.
Already, they have identified some 21 guns for drugs syndicate operating in the country. And we are impacting them by we've made significant seizures of drugs leaving Jamaica and guns coming back to Jamaica.
The police also plan to turn up the heat on lotto scammers. The High Command anticipates that by the end of the year, over 500 persons will be charged under the Law Reform Fraudulent Transactions Special Provisions Act.
So far, we have about 26 persons charged under the legislation that are currently in court, and we're pursuing 400 more investigations under the legislation.
And a special unit will be established to deal with acts of terrorism, a merger of the Police Flying Squad and the Organized Crime Investigative Division.
That is to ensure that the two divisions or formations are much more effective in dealing with robbers and organized crime and all those kinds of issues. They are going to be much more involved in anti-terrorist enforcement. They are going to be trained more specifically in investigating crimes that are normally done by terrorists.
And to protect the livelihood of farmers, a predial larceny liaison officer is to be appointed by the JCF to work with the Jamaica Agricultural Society.
To ensure that police activities against predial larceny are well coordinated across the country.
To further reduce the number of police fatal shootings, Commissioner Williams says the police will continue to work with the Independent Commission of Investigations. Training will also continue in the use of non-lethal weapons so the police do not have to resort to deadly force.
Early in this new year, very early, you should start to see the police officers wearing the kit on the road.
Steps will also be taken to improve accountability in the force. The Commissioner promised greater supervision of guard rooms.
And, to a great extent, that has been working. Prisoners who are now taken in custody they remain in custody only because they need to be there. Where it is not necessary to have prisoners in custody, they are properly processed and released.
And following last year's incident in which a detainee died from injuries he sustained at the Barnett Street Police Station in St. James,
we are now exercising greater care for the people in our custody. I have not had any significant complaints in recent times.
And to support the efforts of the police, government is providing electronic station diaries to replace the large manual logs now in use. National Security Minister Peter Bunting announced earlier this month that e-diaries will be provided, starting with a test run in one police division in the first quarter of this year. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, with support from the National Security Ministry, working assiduously to create a safer Jamaica for all in 2015 and beyond.
Mr. God, I didn't want to ask you this question a long time. Do you have a JADET card? If you have a JADET card, it can save you lots of money when you go to the pharmacy.
Man, certainly, man. I have my own JADET card, man. I've had it for quite some time now. That's helped me tremendously with my health condition.
That's nice.
Senior citizens on the Jamaica Drug for the Elderly program. Take your card to participating government or private pharmacies that display the JADEP sign. Then collect your monthly supply of approved drugs for the chronic illnesses covered by the program. To know more, call the toll-free number 1-888-GO-JADEP. That's 1-888-465-2337.
It keeps our bodies working, our food nutritious, our living and working spaces clean, and our lives comfortable. Water, the most precious resource necessary for the sustenance of life on our planet. Don't waste it. Let's conserve on this critical commodity. In the house, invest in storage containers and buckets. Take quick showers instead of long baths, and invest in water-efficient shower heads, toilets, and faucets. You may also want to consider one-pot meals and cooking methods that don't require much water. You could also wash fruits and vegetables in a bowl and reuse the water on your plants or grass. When cleaning dishes, fill both sinks and use one for washing and the other for rinsing. The leftover water can be used to wash off the concrete or asphalt in your yard. If you must wash your car at home, aim for once a fortnight and use a bucket to do the washing instead of running the hose. Don't delay. Start your water conservation practices today.
Protecting our water resources and conserving on usage is important if we are to have enough of the precious commodity to meet our needs. How can you do that? We have the answers next.
When it rains, it pours. The rainy season usually brings an abundance of the precious commodity, filling rivers and underground aquifers. But although the sources might be there, making water available on demand depends on how well those sources are managed and protected. Some 84% of the water we use comes from groundwater stored in underground aquifers. The Water Resources Authority is the agency of the Ministry of Water and Housing, which has the primary role of protecting, conserving, and allocating water for use from these sources. And in carrying out these functions, it collects data on water quality as well as groundwater levels across the island.
We are maintaining our allocations in keeping with the assessments that we have done. It's just like a checkbook. You balance your checkbook, you know how much money is going in, how much is coming out, and you want to keep a certain balance inside it that we have to keep for certain reasons.
This process is to ensure that we have a regular supply of water flowing through our taps. That balancing act depends largely on an important sequence of events called the water cycle. By transferring water from one reservoir to another, river to sea and to the atmosphere and back, water in our aquifers are replenished. But Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate. An increase in temperature is likely to mean less rainfall, which would then force the authority to lean more heavily on underground sources such as wells. Problems like prolonged periods of drought and seawater intrusion in reservoirs along coastal areas, limiting the availability of clean, fresh water. One solution: conservation. And that's where you come in. While the Water Resources Authority manages and protects water sources, each of us has a role to play in managing the water we use. At home, school, or in places of business, water conservation is everybody's business. While the supplier or utility company focuses on efficient transmission and distribution, consumers must also help. And in helping to conserve on water, we help ourselves. Use less, pay less. Besides conservation, there are steps consumers can take to rein in water usage. Another solution: low flush toilets.
Which basically gives you a very, like 1 gallon of water to flush, compared to like 4 or 5 gallons from a regular sized toilet. Urinals are also being made with 1 liter per flush. You can see that, and there are automatic eyes on them that once you step back it flushes and stops.
Then there are those basic tips that govern regular routines. Not running the tap while you brush your teeth, using pressure shower heads and aerators to save water, filling up your kitchen sink to wash dishes rather than washing them under a flowing tap. Taps like these stop automatically in seconds after you turn them on. And then there are other measures.
Reuse of the grey water that comes out of your bathroom or your sink connected to the gully basin and puts it out on your lawn or grassy area. You can recycle that water.
Leaking pipes are a no-no and a sure way of depriving others of the precious commodity. In addition to plugging those leaks, consider making use of excess rainfall. Collect rainwater and store for general use, as well as to augment regular supplies.
We are applying that to some schools that we're working with rural water supply with, and with the Food and Agricultural Organization in looking at the use of rainwater harvesting for irrigation purposes.
Beyond steps to use water more efficiently is the important task of ensuring that this precious resource is not polluted.
We try to be a little bit proactive in working with NEPA, the National Environment and Planning Agency, as part of the Technical Review Committee when developments come in. We try to reduce the impacts on water resources to make sure that the sewage system that puts in don't impact on water resources, that runoff from certain areas don't get into the aquifers and contaminate the aquifers.
And while the authority does its part, we must ensure that our actions do not put our water supplies at risk. Sinkholes lead directly into aquifers and should therefore never be blocked or used as garbage dumps.
They can report incidences where they may see pollution occurring or people having discharges. For instance, if cesspool emptiers are discharging somewhere where they shouldn't be and it could impact on water resources, they can call in and make a report.
Think about it. What would life be like without sufficient good quality water? Protecting and conserving our water is everybody's business. A healthy and educated people living in a clean, natural environment, reducing crime, improving the justice system and governance, building a prosperous economy. It's not just a vision, it's reality. Learn about the plan. Join the vision.
My country, Jamaica, has a rich heritage and is very unique. If we all pull together, we can make it the place of choice to live, work, raise family, and to do business.
For more information on Vision 2030, call the Planning Institute of Jamaica or visit vision2030.gov.jm, your parish library, school library, or the Jamaica Information Service.
Changing weather patterns impact our daily activities, including farming, and the forecast currently projects that there will be low levels of rainfall in the short term. So as much as you make hay while the sun shines, be sure to store up on the rainwater whenever it pours.
We get most of our annual rainfall during the May to June and October to November months. Periods when water is in abundance. But at other times, agriculture faces seasonal but extensive droughts.
It's terrible when you have drought, man. It's terrible.
Farmers like Mr. Campbell, who know the horror of drought, reach for solutions. And a good one is to store excess water from the rainy months for the dry season. Harvesting water requires some investment. These include putting in catchment tanks or ponds.
Right here we have a typical pond that is used to harness rainwater. It is dug using a backhoe or other machinery, and it is then lined with this plastic material that is called a pond liner, which then keeps the water in place and it holds it there until you're ready to use it for your irrigation purposes or whatever other purpose you may need.
In this model, rainwater collected from the roof of this greenhouse using a gutter is emptied into the pond, then pumped into an elevated tank, from where gravity feeds it to the plants in the greenhouse. Water harvesting for this South Manchester farmer is quite different.
It's like how we construct a little bobby here now. That catch me water go down in the tank. When the dry time, we have a lot of problem with the water system. So we have to construct the tank, that you have the water we can serve it. That when the drought time come, you have the water. When the rainy season come, you full back up, you catch water.
Tyrone, who farms in a hilly area, collects the rainfall from the roof of his house into a tank built of stone and concrete. He then pipes the water into his field, where he irrigates using the drip system.
With a tank, you have limited water. So the drip system doesn't use the water all that hard. It doesn't distribute the water to the plant at a heavy rate. So using the drip in our area is one of the best methods, because it uses less water, but it's very effective. Based on the amount of water inside the tank, I can use gravity feed. But whenever it goes down lower, I use a pump system. But I have various means that I use. I can use the air tank, that you also use gravity from that as well. So I use both systems depending on the depth or the height of the water.
Agricultural experts will tell you the size of the water harvester you choose to put in will depend on your preference and budget. In the end, you'd surely be saving on the cost of water and meet the important objective of improved production by reducing the impact of drought.
There are times that you don't definitely have to use water because your nursery will be ready during the rain time, so you plant during that time. So you always try to have your things set up that time that you can have your nursery ready for the rainfall and all of that.
The dry mulching technique has been proved effective in managing drought risks. It's a kind of farming that helps retain soil water in the ground.
What you do, like after mulling out your crop and all of that, like for instance this sweet pepper now, after mulling it, you'll cut the grass. During the whole planting phase, you'll cut the grass and allow it to dry. After mulling, you'll go through and you'll pat down the land. That helps to hold the moisture inside of the land. And for me, I can say it works.
Farmers who plant crops with higher levels of tolerance to heat are better able to deal with heat-related constraints during drought. Research and breeding of drought-tolerant crops has therefore been an area of focus in the Ministry of Agriculture. Farmers being provided with drought-tolerant crops are able to build a resilient system that gives enhanced crop yields under high temperatures. This is where we have to leave you for now. Remember, disasters do happen. Be prepared. Until next time, take care.
Coming up next, News of the Week.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. Bank of Jamaica Governor Brian Winter announced this week that inflation declined by 3.1% in 2014 when compared to 2013. More evidence that government's economic reform program is working.
For the calendar year 2014, inflation was 6.4%. That's down from 9.5% the year before. At this point, it's likely that inflation for fiscal year 2014-15 will come in below the 7 to 9% target.
As a result, the BOJ governor now expects inflation for the 2015-2016 fiscal year to fall within the range of 3 to 5%. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is reporting an increase in both consumer and business confidence for the fourth quarter of 2014. The jump in consumer and business confidence has been attributed to government's policies and its management of the island's macroeconomic environment. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller this week announced that a 9th agro-park would begin production within the next 3 to 6 months. The new agro-park is located at Nonsuch in St. Mary. The Prime Minister said the entire agro-parks initiative was an example of government's continued pursuit of a strong supply and linkages chain involving agriculture and sectors such as tourism and manufacturing.
We are identifying more creative ways to effectively connect buyers and sellers while addressing the issues affecting the trade as they arise.
Government signed a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. government this week to implement a clean energy program on the island. The U.S. government will provide technical assistance, training, and support to build the human resource capacity of the government and energy sector entities.
Despite the falling price of energy today, Jamaica is even more resolute and committed to continue on this path of energy conservation and efficiency, energy diversification, to embrace the newer, cleaner fuels, and of course, fully take on board renewables. And we intend through this MOU to exploit those to the fullest.
Ground is to be broken in February for government's 78 megawatt renewable energy project, which includes the construction of 1 solar and 2 wind energy plants in Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, and Manchester.
Contracts are now in place, power purchase agreements have been signed, and licenses have been issued.
The $196 million project is expected to be completed by March 2016. Justice Minister Senator Mark Golding this week announced that Cabinet had approved amendments to the Dangerous Drugs Act that will decriminalize ganja for medicinal, religious, and scientific and research purposes. It will also amend the definition of ganja to exclude hemp.
The bill makes the possession of 2 ounces or less of ganja a ticketable infraction that is not subject to powers of arrest or detention, is dealt with outside the court system, and does not result in a criminal record.
A cannabis licensing authority is also to be established as government moves ahead with plans to create a lawful and regulated hemp and medicinal ganja industry. And finally, Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller this week closed the debate on the 3 bills that, if passed, will see the Caribbean Court of Justice replacing the UK Privy Council as Jamaica's final appellate court.
History and circumstances have now placed the power and duty in our hands by our vote to empower our fellow citizens in that respect.
The 3 bills require a 2/3 majority in both the lower and upper houses of Parliament in order to be passed. Voting in the House of Representatives is set for April 28. And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolfe.
Important precautionary measures to prevent the introduction of Ebola to Jamaica. A travel ban is now in effect against persons entering the island directly or indirectly from 3 West African countries struggling with the Ebola outbreak: Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone.
The Ebola incubation period is up to 21 days, 3 weeks. You could essentially have left anywhere, entered the country, and be well for a week or so before you become ill.
Stay alert, stay safe, avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Persons must honestly disclose their travel history at all ports of entry. While traveling, report to authorities if you or any traveler have Ebola symptoms or is believed to have been exposed to infected items or persons. Also, do not touch dead bodies and make intimate contact with persons who may be infected or who could have been in contact with an infected person. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's Emergency Operations Center at 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683. A message from the Ministry of Health.
And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. We value your feedback, so keep the link. Tell us what you thought of the show. Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm or hit us up on Twitter @JISNews. Also, click on our website, jis.gov.jm, for the latest government information. On behalf of all of us here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Until next time, do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.